publicly for the first time. And now high-profile sponsors Nike and Beats by Dre have halted their deals with the quarterback. This morning, Mike Freeman, the race and inequality editor of USA Today, asked what it will take for the league to take action and possibly put him on the exempt list now that the sheer volume of lawsuits against Watson has reached 22. So, Shannon, what is your reaction to what Freeman wrote?
The NFL's in a very tough spot, Skip. They don't want to feel like they're overstepping their boundaries, although Article 46 gives Commissioner Goodell the complete authority. He doesn't need a charge. He doesn't need a conviction to intervene and take whatever actions he deems appropriate because of conduct detrimental, what he would deem conduct detrimental to the league. I just think the thing is they're in a this is an ultimate spot. And if you put him on the commissioner's exempt list, it's almost like, yeah, we believe he's guilty. Because everybody that's been on this list, Skip, what they had actually, you know, we saw what Ray Rice, we saw the video. We saw what Adrian Peterson and his child was going on in Houston. Rusty Harden also defended him in that case. Greg Hardy. I think those are the only three guys, Skip, I can recall off the top of my head that's been on the... I didn't even know anything about a commissioner's exempt list until they got placed on it.
And none in the offseason, all during season.
Right.
Okay, so go ahead.
Right. And so that's another thing.
Yep.
Basically what you would be saying, and I don't think they have this to worry about, Deshaun, you can't come around the Houston Texans. I'm not so sure Deshaun doesn't want to come around them, and I'm not so sure at this point they want him to come around them. So for me, Skip, I think just just to show the outside world we still have a pulse of this. We're going to place him on the commissioner's exempt list. We're going to gather as much information as we can, and we're going to proceed accordingly. Now, Skip, like I said, they don't need charges. They don't need a conviction because the players have given Commissioner Goodell the authority through Article 46 to take the necessary steps appropriate that he deems. Not what they think, man, that ain't right, man, that's some bull jive. I ain't even got charged. You don't need to. He says this is what, because when if I'm not mistaken, Skip, he suspended Ben Roethlisberger, and there were no charges.
No charges.
He said...
6 games, no charges.
He said the look that this is for the league and the expectations that we have as a league and the fans have, you've underperformed. So I believe that is the next step. The volume of women, Skip, you know, one or two, even though one or two should be heard, but because of the sheer volume, I think it's too much. I think it's too many now for the NFL to pretend as if they don't hear it, they don't know it. They knew it if it was one or two, but I think what they should do now is just go ahead and place him on this list. It is the off season. That means he's not going to be able to come around the team. He can have no contact with the team. It's not like they were in contact anyway, Skip. But I think this is the thing for the NFL to show, okay, we're taking these allegations serious. We're taking these women serious, and this is the steps that we've deemed that are appropriate at this time.
Okay. First, I will comment on Mr. Mike Freeman, who is the race and inequality editor for USA Today Sports. He's a prominent black voice in sports media. For whom I have respect. He wrote a scathing piece about the NFL's inactivity, and I agree with all the points he made because they are irrefutable. Scathing but irrefutable. I don't agree with his conclusion. He concludes that the inaction makes it seem like the NFL doesn't care, like it's waiting for the whole thing to blow over. No, that's not happening. Reportedly, the NFL is going about interviewing all of the 22 women who filed suits, and I'm assuming the one woman who went straight to the police. There was the woman who spoke only to Sports Illustrated. I'm sure they are doing their due diligence because they have to. They learned a painful lesson over the Ray Rice, the way they handled that. And they're all over this. But it's a tricky situation right now because you have to try to get to the bottom of it before you take the action. And then the next thing is what action do you want them to take other than the exempt list, which has never been used in the offseason. We have both agreed for weeks now. Looks like you need to go ahead and put him on ice, so to speak. Put him on the exempt list and see how this thing continues to play out. But when we're talking about, his initial question is how many women accusers does it take before you do act against Deshaun Watson? Well, I'm with you because he starts asking, well, is it 5? Well, we passed that. Is it 10? Whoops. 15, 20? We're past what? We're to 22. Mm-hmm. Get that. All of them, as he says, various but similar accusations of sexual misconduct. We get it.
Right.
All on the record. We got that. Mm-hmm. Then he goes through and shoots down point by point the points that Deshaun defenders have made, mm-hmm. I'm sure via the internet,
right.
whatever, Twitter, whichever, Instagram. And he starts off, Deshaun has a sterling reputation. And he says, Mike Freeman says, so did Bill Cosby. Well, that's scathing, but okay,
right.
we get it. Mm-hmm. And then next, hey, wait a minute. None of them have gone to the police. Well, one just went to the police. Next, the lawyer is a carnival barker. Well, we get that. He's run for public. He ran for mayor and ran for another political office. Mm-hmm. And Mike Freeman says that may be true. But if it's all fake, it's one of the greatest fakes in history. If all 22 plus, right. There are really 23 accusers right. now, well, I think we agree. That would be, if you could pull that off, that'd be the greatest right. fake in NFL history. And also Busby is doing all this at his own peril because he's risking his reputation. If it's all fraudulent, then obviously he would look pretty bad.
Yeah, and okay? I don't know what type of reputation he has in Houston. So
I don't know. And then final thought was, well, all the women have been anonymous. Well, we just heard from a couple of them, one very publicly, right. As she read her mm-hmm. statement. Okay, and then finally, there's the woman who's interviewed by Sports Illustrated. So if you believe that all Busby's clients are lying as part of a mass conspiracy, well, then this is the one who's not his client, right? Mm-hmm. So the woman who went independently to right. Sports Illustrated is not Busby's client.
Right.
So you even have some validation from somebody who is not represented by right. this quote-unquote carnival barker.
Right.
Okay, we get all of the above.
Right.
As we keep saying, the mounting body of accusations, the magnitude, it's so severe that it pushes you to say, whew, man.
Right.
It feels like something happened here
right.
that needs to be dealt with by the league. And now we get to, but how? How? What? How do you?
That's the thing, Skip. I mean, do you suspend him? I'm talking about just flat out suspend him. Is that what Mike Freeman is calling for? Is that what people want, just to be flat out suspended?
Then for how long? Well, I'm sure they're weighing their options right. for how long.
Suspended, I guess you have to say suspended indefinitely.
Indefinitely. Suspended for a year? Well, obviously, could this play out in a real court of law? Yes, it could.
I believe it's headed there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could have court of criminal law plus the civil cases.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we get all that, and I appreciate what he wrote, but it's still a very tricky spot that the NFL is in right now, and I don't believe they're inactive. I believe they are quietly going about the business they need to be going about.
Yeah, they don't want to be running into another situation because everybody believed they jumped the gun on Deflategate. Everybody believed they jumped the gun on Zeke Elliott's situation. So they don't want to be in another situation because the players really don't trust the NFL when it comes to these situations anyway, because they don't believe you're qualified. You're in the entertainment business. Yep. You're not the law enforcement or the SVU, you know what I'm saying, Skip? That's not your level of expertise. Although you have people that, you brought Lisa Friel and you brought a lot of people on in this capacity, Skip. At the end of the day, the NFL is an entertainment business.
Yep.
And so that's what they do really, really well. That's why they was able to make these owners wealthy, even wealthier than what they were before, because they understand how to put a great product on. They do a great job, and the networks do a great job of partnering and businessing with them to put on a great show for the viewing audience. Mm-hmm. But like I said, you suspend them indefinitely, and then what? For some, that's still not going to be enough.
Yep.
I guess they want him, just ban before we even go to trade, just ban him forever, before we even go to court and hear all the facts. So
so final point. Referring to the letter that Roger Goodell wrote to Ben Roethlisberger in 2010 before he suspended him six games. I quote, the personal conduct policy, this is from Roger, the personal conduct policy makes it clear that I may impose discipline even where the conduct does not result in conviction of a crime. Okay, so he has broad powers.
Yes.
And at some point, trust me, he will step back and he will rule on this.
Because that's what happened, Skip, is that they were saying that when the NFL wasn't intervening, they said, well, there are no charges. And they said, well, you suspended such and such and you didn't have no evidence. So you're the NFL. You can do whatever you want to do. So then he started suspending people without charges. Like, well, he ain't got no charges. So Roger Goodell, he could never win. Because if you suspend someone in the court of, in the law enforcement, in the court of law says, nah, we don't see anything. They're like, well, hold on. How do you take precedent over that? And that's their job. That's not your job. So Roger Goodell, no matter what he does, there's going to be a segment of population that's going to be upset because they say you overstepped your boundaries. So he can't win, but that's why you make $50 million a year, Raj. That's why you can get paid the big bucks. So Jerry Jones and all the other owners don't have to worry about that. So all the blowback gets splattered on you. All that you know what gets splattered on him. Everybody, Jerry Jones and Mr. Kraft, they counting 100 million.